Hi, True Avatars, and welcome to your weekly queer video game podcast. This is episode 37, and I am your host, Zoe Wild. I'm a transgender and bisexual woman, and my pronouns are she, her. This week is the most loaded episode we've ever recorded. This past weekend was the busiest for the games industry since I started recording the podcast. So for the first two segments of the show, we're going to be discussing a few queer headlines, the PlayStation State of Play, Summer Game Fest, Day of the Devs, and the Wholesome Direct. It's a lot. So grab a cup of tea. If you're in a car, make sure you're driving safely, listen to the podcast, but be safe on the road. But we're going to be here for a little while. So, this recording right now, though, is happening on Saturday, June 7th. So this is only one part of the show. So there's going to be two segments here where we kind of take a break and we talk about all the stuff that I just mentioned. But then tomorrow, I'm going to be recording another segment with the Xbox Showcase, Frosty Games Fest, and the Accessibility Summer Showcase. So we got quite a bit to go through today. And it's going to be mostly a highlight of the queer games. I'll quickly cover other stuff too. We'll talk a little bit about everything, but I did do a lot of research to find out which games were specifically either queer themed, queer tagged, or made by queer people. And in some cases made by queer allies. So, and I did say we for some of this. So joining me for these first couple of segments, we have Zoe Straw. She's back.
Hi.
Hi, Zoe is a trans woman and game developer, and her pronouns are she, her. Welcome back to the show.
Hi, what up?
What up is we have a lot of queer games to talk about today. What up with you?
I'm currently heartbroken. I'm playing through Final Fantasy V, and we just got Galef back, but it was at a great cost, and oh my gosh, I'm understanding why people get invested in JRPGs. I got my GRS date, and I'm really happy because I need a lot of games that I can play one-handed, so my newfound interest in JRPGs seem to sync up with that.
Yes. So for anyone listening to the podcast that doesn't know or didn't catch it, GRS is gender recognition surgery. Anyway, it's bottom surgery.
Yeah.
So congratulations. That's huge.
I have my counsel with the great Vaginomancer.
And having one-handed games is great because without getting too into it, you have to do something down there on a repetitive basis that takes a lot of time. So having an extra free hand to have fun with, not in any weird way, but just to play video games or be on your phone or whatever, is very important. And I've been trying to solve this problem because most of the consoles I own require two hands on the controller. So I have not been able to game while doing the thing that I am hinting at. So
Steam allows you to remap stuff, and it's actually incredibly versatile. So I've been working on making one-handed maps for controllers that I have that will allow me to do a full gamepad setup with one hand. And I'll send it to you later because I'm not going to get into it now, but I've come up with some really nifty ideas.
I appreciate that. But unfortunately, most of the devices I own holding one-handed, I get they're too heavy and they're either weighted down or I get tired after a while. But if the Nintendo would actually allow button remapping, because they lied about that, by the way, on the Switch too, I could use one Joy-Con to play with, which would be great, but... Oh, Zoe's bringing a new controller to... Oh, that looks like the SNES controller. This cute.
Is an 8BitDo. They're a company that makes a lot of custom gamepads. This is an 8BitDo SN30 Pro. It's about the size and shape of a Super Nintendo controller, but with all of the inputs of a modern Xbox type gamepad. And as you can see here, you're pretty tall, so you probably have big hands like me. This is very lightweight, and it's, so I essentially tilt the axes and... Oh,
you hold it like a Joy-Con. Okay. Yeah, Zoe's holding what basically looks like a Super Nintendo Super Famicom controller by 8BitDo. It almost looks identical, except for the fact that the buttons are red instead of purple. And also, he's been sitting here so patiently while I introduce Zoe, but Lloyd is also here, Lloyd Lloydster. He's taken Ekami's place, actually. He's sacrificing himself in place of Ekami today. So, give him a big round of applause. Lloyd is a trans man who streams a wide variety of games on Twitch. Lloyd's pronouns are he, him. How have you been, Lloyd?
Hello. I am good. I'm good. Thanks for having me. And congratulations. I didn't feel I hadn't been introduced yet. I should not speak.
But we have a lot to do and get out of the way, so I'm just going to quickly get through some housekeeping here. If you like this podcast, please leave a comment or review on your preferred podcast platform. I know Spotify has ratings and comments, and Apple has reviews. True Avatars hasn't been reviewed at all on Apple yet, and I know 40% of all my True Avatars are listening on that platform. Reviews help grow the podcast, and a growing podcast means a happy podcast hostess who is forever happy and fulfilled that you enjoy listening to her ramblings, which creates an infinite feedback loop of more podcast episodes and more growth and more happiness. So please go leave a review. Also, please follow True Avatars, a queer video game podcast on social media. There are accounts on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, Threads, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube at True Avatars, and you can also find the podcast on the official website, trueavatarspodcast.com, all one word. And remember, this is a weekly queer video game podcast, so check in every week. I aim to bring you news, interviews, and up-to-date discussions that are relevant to queer gamers, so you have a safe space to check in on the world of gaming from a 2S LGBTQIA+ lens. Okay, so I realized when I was sending everyone all the information, I don't know if I actually sent the queer headlines, but I'm going to blow through these super quick because they're actually just very simple headlines. I haven't even opened them up, so I'm just going to quickly click through these. But first off, from Video Games Chronicle, and I'm sure other sources as well, but there's a Phasmophobia film in the works at Blumhouse. So Blumhouse kind of made their name on financing the early Paranormal Activity movies after the first one. I'm sure at this point everyone knows Blumhouse. They're like, there's A24 horror and there's Blumhouse horror at this point, and there's nothing else left in the industry.
Blumhouse is the shotgun approach. Like, we're gonna fund 100 random movies with no pretensions of cinema, and just one of them is gonna get popular, and that's gonna pay for the rest of them.
Essentially, yes. That's actually a very good way to put it. And they've obviously licensed Phasmophobia, which was an indie game made by one person for a film. And so this game has now, it's grown into a huge following. So to be this one, it's like Stardew Valley. It's really blown up. And now there's a film. So I guess we'll see when it comes out. I don't think there's any information on who's making it in terms of directors, writers, anything like that. But it looks like James Wan's Atomic Monster is on board. James Wan got famous from directing the first Saw movie, and now he produces a lot. He did the 2 Aquaman movies. And I also think he recently got back the rights to the Saw franchise, too, through Blumhouse, because they bought the rights from Twisted Pictures. Anyway, all that is to say is there's a Phasmophobia film in the works. And also, we have some more news here. Nintendo Switch 2, the Mii's on Nintendo Switch 2, when you create them, they're now genderless. So you actually pick a body type instead of a gender. And obviously it's pissed some people off, but...
How are you liking your Switch 2? You just got one, didn't you?
I did, and I'm going to focus a lot more on the Switch 2 because it's a busy-ass week, but I'm going to talk about it a lot more next week when I have Amy Lynn on, but I do really like it. I just have to say, it's a really nice console, but Mario Kart is not a $110 Canadian game.
No.
The free roam is... There's nothing new to discover in the free roam. There's literally... They advertised literally everything in there, and it's literally just Korok seeds.
Yeah.
It's not even a proper mode. When you go on the menu, there's 4 options that are listed, and then at the very bottom, there's a tiny little disclaimer that says, if you click the plus button, you can enter free roam mode.
Stop.
Yeah.
I basically got the impression that this was we have to launch with something. So if we tack on a free roam mode to our Mario Kart game, that'll tide people over until the actual big Nintendo games that people want to buy it for come out.
That's the sense I'm getting to. Now, that said, though, it's Mario Kart. It's polished. It's the most fun way to play Mario Kart. You thought it couldn't get better after Mario Kart 8 Deluxe with the level of polish they put into the driving, but this game is a lot nicer. Visually, just in every way. So, if you can get it in the bundle for $70 or you can get it discounted at some point down the road, I really recommend it. It's going to be a great party game. Knockout Tour, the elimination mode is so fun. But, yeah, free roam sucks. I'm just gonna say it. It sucks. It's not a selling point at all. It's just a fun little bonus that they should have just left as a surprise.
And I knew you were skeptical about it to begin with, even before everything. I remember you saying that.
Yeah, my expectations were met at I exactly what I expect. It is exactly what I expected, basically.
Open world is kind of the opposite. I don't like open world games generally. So when it's you take something that traditionally hasn't been open world, you're now it's open world. I'm oh, I want to play it even less now.
Yeah, and it's it's just, I don't know. It's fun. I think if you were 10 years old with your friends playing this game for the first time and you hadn't played a ton of open world games before, I think this would be the Kirby Air Ride of this decade, where this surprise little open world area, this, it's just fun to play and drive around in. But if you're looking for something with a little bit of meat to it, some kind of boss mode, bosses or story, or just literally anything to do except find little hidden things, there's nothing for you. But yeah, if you want a me now on Nintendo Switch 2, you don't pick a gender, you pick a body type. So that's kind of cool. There's still only 2 body types. It's not like there's a third non-binary option, but it is a step forward for Nintendo and gives me hope for Tamagotchi life and gay marriage and gender options.
That's going to get them on the woke games list. I'm still checking to see if our game made the woke games list. That's the only list I want to make.
Also, there has been some news from CD Projekt Red. They are not done with Cyberpunk 2077, and they have more surprise content on the way. They haven't said what it is. I don't think it's an expansion. I've seen a lot of speculation that it might just be like a little patch and some like extra goodies. But the fact that this game is still being supported, despite the fact that it's like released as a complete version now, even on the Switch 2, and they're making Cyberpunk 2 in like at full scale in pre-production now. So I don't know. I just think it's cool that they're making more content for a very, very heavy queer game. So
I really liked Cyberpunk 2077. Like, I played it the day that it came out, and it's like one of those things where everyone complains about how busted it was, but like my experience was fine. I didn't encounter many more bugs than I do in like a standard game, and I know I got really lucky, but I was like, hey, I want like a bunch of like really well-designed Deus Ex type ImSim sneaking levels, and it just gave me a big map with like a billion of those dotted around it that were all really polished, and I loved it. I put like 30 hours into that game before I even started the story.
Yeah, I spent the most time in the character creator too, but I haven't opened it yet. I haven't even gotten a
I was doing side quests.
But I haven't even played the Switch 2 version, which I picked up, so... And we have one more headline here, and again, I haven't heard of this showrunner, unfortunately, and I didn't have time to look into him too much, but Mass Effect's Amazon TV series is moving forward with a showrunner, Doug Jung, yeah, that's pretty much the news. Mass Effect has a show. I mean, that's a good step forward for this show if they're making it, and honestly, if the show's a success, I might even believe that EA actually gives Mass Effect and BioWare some proper funding to actually go ahead and make Mass Effect 5, because the Fallout show has breathed new life into that. I think the Borderlands movie even somehow breathed new life into that series somehow, even though the movie was apparently absolute shit. So
it's like so fundamentally bad in every way. It's like one of those things that's so bad that like filmmakers should study it, because it is such a like across the board failure of every characteristic of filmmaking, devoid of any merit, that it's like, do you want teachable examples of how to do everything wrong? Look at Borderlands. Like just basic, just like, all of those, like, oh, you should have like the action going across shots be consistent between shots so that there's some level of visual conveyance. Failure to construct any like sense of geography in the act. It's just like, it's like a music video of a bunch of random things happening, completely devoid of any sense of cohesion between them.
Is the music in the music video at least good?
I don't remember.
I actually didn't even see it, but every opinion I made from the trailers I saw was supported by people who'd seen it, and not like people I knew, but just like general consensus and things I was reading, and I was like, I'm okay that I didn't see this.
The Borderlands movie is what a movie made by AI will feel like, which is to say that there's like a bunch of shots that individually have some sense of verisimilitude and yet lack any cohesion because the AI's context is incapable of consistency.
I've seen better AI videos from VO3 than I have Borderlands movie trailers. So,
well, it's not AI. It's just that bad.
But hopefully Mass Effect turns out like Fallout and not Borderlands, or Last of Us even. Like, I hope it turns out like Last of Us, not like Last of Us. I want to be clear, I actually like Last of Us Season 2 despite all the complaints, so...
Yeah, I mean, it's like following the track record of the game where it's like, gamers didn't deserve The Last of Us Part 2. It's like masterfully incredible. And it's like, oh, you just can't handle actual really good challenging storytelling. You just wanted Daddy to be playable again.
All right, before we get into spoilers on Last of Us Part 2, because I do try to avoid those, I want people to go into that game as unknowing as possible, because I think the twists are the best part.
It's incredible. It's amazing.
It is, but that's the news for this week. I'm going to quickly jump through the state of play. I was going to talk about it a little bit more, but then there were so many queer games in the Wholesome Direct, which is a good thing, but also bad for talking about all the other showcases in depth. So, at the PlayStation State of Play, there were a bunch of games. Pragmata returned. It's got a 2026 date. It's only coming to PS5 so far as I can tell. They showed off Metal Gear Solid Delta, the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake. I think that's coming out in August, but they just showed another update. They showed the Ape Escape content again. They showed off a trailer for Hirogami. That's coming September 3rd. This was like this cool, like, it looked like a Zelda-like almost, but it's supposedly a 3D platformer, I think. with like origami figures and characters and this environment that I think is being taken over by, I want to say, like cyberspace.
Okay.
This would be good if I did research beforehand. I'm going to the Steam page right now. Yes, Deadly Digital Invaders. So
cool.
Yeah, it looked great. They revealed Neo 3, which I think is cool. I don't know anything about Neo, but I think a lot of people do, so that's cool. More free Astrobot levels. I'm hoping that, and they didn't reveal who the bots were except for the character from Ghost of Yotei, the main character whose name escapes me, but she's coming to, as a bot, to Astrobot. But also they said there would be 4 more free bots in these levels, and they're like fan favorites, and I'm like, okay, where's Cloud? Like, Cloud's coming, right? It's time for Cloud. Because Square Enix is suspiciously absent from Astrobot. With the exception, I think, of like Gex, maybe? I think Gex showed up.
Well, I mean, you can't have every possible character, so you've just got to get the ones that everyone wants. Like Gex.
Sword of the Sea, the Journey to Electric Boogaloo, I mean that endearingly. If you like Journey, if you like the Pathos, if you like Abzu, they're basically making what they describe as Tony Hawk meets and SSX Tricky meets Journey, basically. So it's like surfing, snowboarding.
That looked really beautiful. That's something I would probably play.
Yeah, it's due out August 19th on PS5 and PC. I'm hoping that there'll be a Switch 2 version, because that'd be the perfect place for me to play that.
That's 3 days before my bottom surgery. Wait, you said 19th? That's 1 day before my bottom surgery. Okay, I know what to play.
There's your bottom surgery
now.
Recovery game. There was also a Mortal Kombat collection announced from Digital Eclipse. Whenever they do these collections, they're always great. I'm not a Mortal Kombat fan, but I think this collection is going to be really something, because there's always they make it like a movie, like a Blu-ray, where they put in like documentaries and bonus features and galleries and just like stories and details and like cool menus. So something to look out for.
That's like the early days of DVDs, when like you'd get a DVD and it would just have like 7 hours of bonus content.
Yeah, that was what I was responding to the most when I saw that trailer. I was like, ooh, I'm actually really interested in like the making of side of this stuff.
Yeah, I just picked up Tetris Effect, not Tetris Effect, Tetris Forever, which is basically the Tetris version of that. It has like, I haven't had any time to do anything, but I'm excited to dive into all the special features, because that's where I'm like most excited about. Ever since I saw the Video Game Historian's video on how Tetris was made, and then I went and watched the Tetris movie, which is completely inaccurate, but so much fun.
I love the Tetris movie so much. It has enough historical accuracy where I'm like, okay, you invent a made-up KGB villain, you condensed all of the events, but you still hit all of the points of what happened. You just made it more fun. And it's like, as far as history movies go, it gets a pass. It's like a 7 out of 10.
And they also play I Need a Hero twice, which is one of my favorite songs of all time. And they do it in a really cool, like they do a Japanese version, and then I think they do a Russian version. And that's how they kind of like weave that song into the story. I think it's super cool. And there's like a chase scene with it. Anyway, anyone who knows Shrek knows like Holding Out for a Hero or I Need a Hero by Bonnie Tyler, sung by the fairy godmother in that movie. Okay, but we have to move on because we have a lot to cover still. So they also finally showed off the first, no gameplay, but they showed off cinematics for 007 First Light, which is IO Interactive's upcoming James Bond.
I can't wait.
I know. They're going to show off more gameplay sometime this summer, apparently. So I'm excited for that. It's supposed to be coming in 2026.
Hitman World of Assassination is like one of the best games for me that's come out in the last like 20 years. I love it. And so like that team making a James Bond game, which seems like a perfect combination, I can't wait.
And it's also third person, unlike Indiana Jones, because I want to see the character from the movie that I'm playing as when I'm playing the game. So
I'm okay with that. I think for both of those, I'd prefer first person. But like, it doesn't matter. They made Hitman. They can do no wrong in my book. If it's bad, I'll be heartbroken.
That's fair. Well, it looks good, but we have yet to see gameplay, so I guess we'll see this summer. They also showed more Ghost of Yotei. There's going to be a Ghost of Yotei State of Play in July. I don't think there's a specific date, but they just said July. And again,
like this July?
This July, yeah. And of course, Erika Ishii plays the main character, and Erika Ishii is gender fluid. The character in the game is not gender fluid, but they are playing they are a gender fluid actor playing a character in a very big AAA first party Sony game, and I think that's a big deal. So
I recently played Ghost of Tsushima, and it's absolutely amazing. I bitch about open world games, but like, that's probably the most I've enjoyed, like, kind of a conventional, traditionally structured one. It was so good. Oh.
There's also Final Fantasy Tactics remastered. They gave it a name. It was like the Chronicles of Evil East or something. All I heard was Evil Ice the whole time they said it, and I was like, I don't know about that name, guys. But this is one that all my friends have been waiting for a long time. It looks like the backgrounds are AI upscaled, not like generative AI, but like Topaz, which is just like basically like stretches out an image and like smooths over all the like jaggies in an image. I don't know if that's how they did it, but it looks kind of like Chrono Cross, where they just kind of like, they just did a fast, like, quick pass on it, and I don't think it looks too great, but it has the original version of the game in there, which is cool. That's coming September 30th to the Switches, the PlayStations, the Xbox Series, and PC. And then they finished off the State of Play with Marvel Tokon Fighting Souls, which is coming in 2026, which is like a Japanese Street Fighter-esque Marvel fighting game. And not my cup of tea, but it looks super cool. And then also, I didn't mention this before, but Silent Hill F finally got a release date, and that's one of the games I'm most excited for that's not queer.
Was F the one where the trailer had like the creepy mushroom stuff?
I actually don't know. I just know it's set in Japan this time instead of the US, with some Japanese school kids trying to survive the their 1960s era town being overrun by the fog from all the other games.
Yeah, it is. I remember the trailer for that is like, I have a very high resilience to horror and gore, and that was the one time where I saw like some sort of like body horror that actually like was very viscerally disturbing to me, where I was like, oh my gosh.
Lloyd, I know you had some thoughts on this.
Yeah, that'll be good to see that one. I am the most casual of Silent Hill fans. I enjoy everything I have seen. I've probably seen the movies more played most of the games, but this one looks gorgeous. I mean, the body horror, you actually see some of the characters in the trailer before you see what they become, and just seeing that translation is so cool. It's so cool. And just, the Silent Hill franchise is so good at capturing that sort of like creepy inhuman movement of human looking shapes. That is just, it looks really good. I'm gonna be bad at it, but it looks really good.
Yeah, I didn't finish Silent Hill 2 remake last year. I plan to get back to it, but because this is made by a different studio and it is Konami like kind of returning to their roots a little bit, this is one of those games that, like Silent Hill 2, I'm going to wait for reviews on. So it's a day 2 game. If day 1, if it's getting good reviews, day 2, I'm picking this game up, and it's just in time for Halloween, so like it'll be perfect there.
Silent Hill 2 is like on the short list of like, hey, do you want to learn about video games as an art form? Play OG Silent Hill 2. Like, if I had to pick 20 games, that would be one of them, to just give someone a high-level summary of video games as art. That's
pretty cool. All right, that's the State of Play. So, we made it through the State of Play. We have Summer Games Fest. We have Day of the Devs, which are kind of two of the... There's a little bit of overlap there with those. And then we have the Wholesome Direct to get through. So, let's jump straight into Summer Game Fest. So there weren't too many queer games, although I did pick out all the ones here. So I'm going to go through the queer games, and I'll let you guys comment as I go. And then if there's any other games you just want to mention or talk about briefly, we can do that then. But yeah, so the biggest game that I can think of that's queer is Scott Pilgrim EX that they revealed, which is like the spiritual successor. It's obviously a sequel to the Scott Pilgrim franchise, but it's a spiritual successor to the Scott Pilgrim game that was like a licensed movie tie-in that they recently remastered and re-released a few years ago after it was like delisted for almost a decade. So I think... Yeah. I think it was a soundtrack thing. I played that Scott Pilgrim game when it came out, and I was like really into chiptunes in high school, and I was like, oh, Animated Gucci's in it, and I knew who they were. And then I got to be a hipster about it and be like, oh, you don't know who Animated Gucci is. Meh.
Yeah, with Scott Pilgrim, I remember like the fandom franchise, whatever. They were the fans were very upset because they couldn't get the single of Brie Larson singing that one song, but they couldn't release it because they got approval for it to be in the movie, but they didn't get approval for it to be in the soundtrack yet. And so like all of it coming back up and Scott Pilgrim being popular again, it like fits up with the licensing.
Yeah, actually, I was looking for that song for years, and I gaslit myself into thinking I just couldn't find it, because I found it a couple of years ago on Apple Music, and I was like, oh shit, it's here. And I didn't realize it, but it's Brie Larson, but I think the band is Metro.
Yeah.
That does the actual song.
They had just come out with the song, if I'm remembering the timeline correctly. They had just come out with the song themselves. They'd released it themselves. And so they didn't want to license the movies version to be out like at the same time to sort of like compete.
Okay. Well, hopefully this game has no licensing issues. It does have some, apparently, I didn't realize this until I read it a little bit after, but it has some spoilers for the new Netflix show that was in there. There's like a power-up that Ramona Flowers gets, and apparently, and I didn't recall this at all, but apparently that's one of her like things in the new anime that they did, which you should go check out, because the new show's
really good.
And this game looks great too. If you're into beat 'em ups, if you're into fighting games, this looks just as good, if not better, than the first game they did. There's no confirmation on all the playable characters. They've said there's 7, and we only know 2 of them, Scott and Ramona. But if I had to guess, Wallace Wells is going to be one of them. And if he's not a playable character, he will be in the game, which makes this a queer game. And it's also set in Toronto in the year 20XX, of course. Another queer adjacent game. I was hoping Amy Lynn could be here today.
Isn't Ramona bi?
That's true. Yeah, Ramona is bi. You're right. You're right.
Bi erasure in real time, guys.
I'm bisexual and I'm erasing myself, okay? All right, I'm just going to take the eraser.
You're just fading away like the picture from Back to the Future.
Yeah.
It's like, no!
That is true, yeah. Although, to be fair, they never really addressed that she's bi, just that she experimented in college. So they never really totally addressed, like, give her that label. She never gives herself that label. So
they do it more in the Netflix show with someone. I'm not going to say who.
Yeah, well, we'll stick to not spoiling that because it's fairly recent. But if you have Netflix, I highly recommend going to check that out. Also, queer adjacent. I was hoping Amy Lynn would be here for this. Is Scott... oh my god, Scott. No. I was going to say Scott Pilgrim Racing Cross Worlds. That is not correct. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'm sure I'll have Amy Lynn kind of go do a deep dive on it next week when she's on. But it's coming September 25th to pretty much all platforms. I think like PS5, Xbox Series, Switch 1. And then there's a Switch 2 version coming at a later date. And I think there will actually, unlike Sonic Shadow Generations, there will actually is going to be a paid upgrade path from the Switch 1 version to the Switch 2 version, thankfully. So Sega is figuring out their shit out, which is nice. We also saw Unbeatable at, I think both showcases, but I know for sure it was at Day of the Devs. And Unbeatable is a rhythm game. And I didn't pull up all these. Did I pull up all these games here? Okay, so Unbeatable. We've talked about this before on the show, but Unbeatable is a rhythm adventure game where music is illegal and you do crimes. Follow the story of Beat and her band on the run in a narrative experience full of big emotions, powered by arcade flawless rhythm gameplay. This game is not queer inherently. It doesn't have the tag. However, the music is done by Peak Divide. And one half of Peak Divide is a trans woman, Clara Maddox. And she's actually very visible and clearly seen in, at the end of the Day of the Devs, they play a song from the game.
And I'm not going to lie, I was like, oh, yo, I work in this industry. Could we be colleagues?
I'm hoping one day I can get her on the show, actually. That would be really cool.
That would be.
Yeah, actually, to be honest, every time I see a queer dev making a game or a dev making a queer game, I'm like, can they come on the show? Should I DM them?
Every time there's like a cute trans girl who does like really good like music or anything, I'm just like, oh, you found out how to get me.
So Unbeatable is still due out 2025. There wasn't a date given, but yeah, at the end of the Day of the Devs, after like all the game announcements, there's 2 more games they show off. And for Unbeatable, they actually show off like they play a music video for one of the songs. And there is a Next Fest demo or there will be a Next Fest demo, but I think there's already like a demo right now that you can play. I assume the Next Fest demo will be slightly updated, and that's on Monday. But they also announced that the soundtrack is on Bandcamp for pre-order, and all the songs that have been released already are available to download immediately if you pre-order the soundtrack. And you can also listen to everything that's available currently on YouTube as well. So support Unbeatable if you can. Support Clara Maddox for sure.
Yeah, that soundtrack, it sounds amazing from the few singles I've heard from it. Usually, like, when there's music that's brand new or, never released music in a rhythm game, it's usually, like, okay. But the few tracks I've heard, I was like, okay, this is actually... I would listen to this without knowing it was from a game I liked, so...
Yeah, even if you're like not into rhythm games, like rhythm games for me are hit or miss, not because they're bad or anything, just because like for me, like sometimes like I have to be in the mood for a rhythm game. This looks really fun though. I especially like the story, but even if I wasn't into this game, I'm going to be downloading the soundtrack when it's all out because it sounds incredible. And it's like that late 2000s kind of sound, which I really love. And I feel like I didn't get enough of at the time. So I'm very excited to listen to it in full. If not through the game, at least through Bandcamp. So also, there's a game they revealed called Snap and Grab. It did not have the LGBTQ plus tag, but those devs made another game called Roundabout, which was queer-centric. So I do have a feeling that this might have some queerness to it. But basically, it's a game where you take photos to plan heists. It looks super fun. So you do crimes. This is the Steam description. Do crimes using only your camera and your crew. In Snap and Grab, explore a puzzle adventure world where any photo you take could be the key to cool crime success. Travel to exotic locations, photograph treasures, and reveal threats. Then combine your photos in unique ways to create a rad heist plan.
There's 2 heist games that they showed off. This is the one I'm less excited about, but it's also just kind of predicated on like, this is a really interesting premise. I just hope that they can turn it into like really like meaningful, compelling gameplay, because I love heists. That's one of my favorite things. I love stealth games. I love exploring places. So like a lot of the stuff that's on here is really appealing to me. I want to see like what the actual structure of this looks like though. Like, okay, so you're exploring these environments and you're taking pictures, good. But then the actual act of doing the heist is like sequencing a bunch of photographs and interacting with these pieces. I'm like, I don't know. It's one of those things where I'm like, either the options are going to be too limited or they're going to be too specific for the things that you have to do is kind of my like worries. But I want to be wrong about that, because in terms of just like premise on paper, I love this game.
Well, the other game you mentioned, I think it's Reloaded, right?
Yeah.
That was the game where I was like, I'm not sure about how the heists are going to work in that game, because they made some really cool looking side scroller gameplay and the premise looks awesome. But I was like, how does the actual heist itself carry out? And so I was concerned about that one too. So
that made a lot of sense to me. We're basically just like, before you like steal the thing, you are wandering around these environments trying not to get caught. And it looks like it almost works like a stealth game, but you're also moving stuff and trying to set up your escape. And then it turns into like a parkour game where like like once you trigger the alarm, then it's like you have to escape and you have to make sure that you've set everything up properly. Like once I grab the thing, okay, now shit's real and I gotta go. Which that game, for a lot of reasons, looks really cool. I want to play that. Reloaded.
So there's Snap and Grab and Reloaded. Snap and Grab is the one that might be queer. Reloaded is not. I don't actually have Reloaded Steam page pulled up here. I can pull it up, but Snap and Grab is planned for 2026, and it looks like it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. And for Reloaded, let me just go here and check super quick.
While you're checking, when I was watching Snap and Grab, I love all these games that are coming out with deliberately unrealistic textures that somehow feel real. Like I loved that all of the like characters had like this sort of like a rubbery like light effect to them. Like they interacted really well with all the light sources. I don't know, it's something I'm starting to notice more of. Instead of going hyper realistic, some games are going a little bit more sideways with it, with hyper realistic textures, but textures in places that you really wouldn't expect them.
I think one of the things the teams are learning how to do really well now is how to like apply like stylization to like non-realistic styles, because like we've had like graphical fidelity improving a lot over the last like 20 years, and it's often been in service of like realistic styles, but like I don't like realistic styles that well. It doesn't age that well. But now we're starting to see like we have insanely good like lighting and like PBR and stuff in modern games, and if you can apply that to a stylized thing, you can make some stuff that looks amazing. Like I think one of the best looking games I've seen from the last few years was Hi-Fi Rush, which was like cell shaded and like a very like Saturday morning cartoon art style, and like that was taking modern tech and making it look incredible. But yeah, I like seeing more like cartoony stylized games that also just like have a high degree of polish.
So I did find, though, Reloaded is coming to PC, Steam, and Epic, and also Xbox Series, both X and S. I'm going to link every queer game that I've talked about in the show notes, so you can go and you should go and wishlist these if possible to support the devs. And some of them too, that I've talked about in the past. There's a couple games that were in the Wholesome Direct later too that are actually available now that I've talked about. And before, when I talked about them, I was like, these could be years away. Like, I don't know when they're coming in. Like, they're available now, which is super cool. So, but yeah, that was Snap and Grab, which is the potentially queer game, and then Reloaded, which is not queer, but also very cool looking. Next up was Dosa Divas, and this comes from the Thirsty Suitors team. So if you've played that is a queer game. Dosa Divas does not have the queer tag on Steam, like the LGBTQ plus tag. I don't know if it's queer or not, but given that the devs have made a queer game in the past, I think there could definitely be some queer elements to this. They're just not front and center, thus the lack of the tag. But it comes from Outer Loop Games. It's a turn-based RPG where you use flavor cravings as weaknesses to defeat your enemies. I think it looks super cool. So the Steam summary is this: battle an evil fast food empire in the spicy narrative turn-based RPG. Two sisters and their upgradable spirit mech cook delicious meals, fight corpos, build up your reputation with local communities, and reconcile with loved ones.
Yeah, this one I was really excited about because there's a lot of dystopian games out there, but this one, it had that like extra level of food and culture and building community with food, and it's a combination of elements that I personally haven't seen before, and I just love that idea that food is like such a simple but also a staple in every single person's life, and like the preparation of food and the community around making food. I'm excited to see that one.
Hopefully the battle system is decent.
Yeah.
Well, from what I can see in the trailer, it looks really, really great. I also like that the story is just kind of about two sisters. Like, I like the corporation, the anti-corporation aspect to, like, fast food. That's, like, the kind of, like, overlaying theme. But then, like, underneath the heart of it all is, like, these two sisters that are kind of battling it out. From what I could understand, there's two people that are, like, the characters, the player characters, but also you're fighting your sister who owns the evil food empire. I wasn't totally clear on that, but either way, like, it looks really good. And I hope it is queer. I hope there's some queer elements to it, too, so.
Yeah, we'll see. I think there's a lot of, like, when stuff does, like, anti-corporatism, I'm always like, I don't like corporations. I'm not a big fan of capitalism, but, like, oh my god, just do it in a way that doesn't feel cringe, please.
Well, I think based on their track record, I mean, I think this game is going to be... It's going to be really good. Even if it's not as good as Thirsty Suitors, like, I don't think it'll be, like, cringy. I think they'll nail this one, personally, based on what I've seen. But let me just double check here, too. Is there a date? It just says 2026, so it's still in development. But go wishlist it. Up next, we have Possessors. So this game was not obviously queer in any way. Neither were the devs. However, Miriam LaChapelle... I'm going to double check that. It was Miriam LaChapelle. Give me a second here.
Was this a Metroidvania? It looked like a Metroidvania, right?
Yes, so it's a Metroidvania, and it is Miriam LaChapelle. She's the co-founder of the studio making the game, and she's Canadian and queer. It is a Metroidvania, but it was actually referred to as a search action game, which I've heard before in passing, but apparently that just seems to be like the new term to like de-Nintendo the name Metroidvania.
I think some people want that to be the new term. I'm not really hearing anyone using it outside of people with like overly specific opinions on genre names.
What was it again?
It's like search action.
Game.
Search action. Okay, I'm reprogramming. Okay.
I'm very much like a descriptivist where I'm like, the term is as useful as how many people are using it. But it looks really good. I want to play it. It looked messed up. Like that kind of like vignette with like the school teacher.
Yeah.
After he got all monster-fied and stuff. That was really neat. I like the art a lot.
That. Yeah, they made you feel a lot in those first few seconds, and it wasn't even like directly related to the gameplay. But yeah, he's like being bullied by his students, but then it's like, oh, I love doing this. Like, this is what I like. He laughs with them, and then like the world ends, and then he's still trying to teach to an empty room, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, oh wait, there's a game here, and then like,
I have a feeling that's going to be a boss fight. I feel like there's going to be like all of these like tragic characters that have been corrupted by whatever ended the world that are going to be like, you're going to get vignettes of them.
There's 4 of them, actually. The way they described it, there's going to be 4 like stories like the teacher. So the teacher is one of them, and I think there's 3 other like major characters that are like that as you kind of navigate this like building / university as you try to get to the top to fight this like actually, so escape, this is the Steam summary, just so I get it correct. Escape a sprawling, flooded city overrun with surreal interdimensional horror in this fast-paced action side-scroller. And it comes from Heart Machine. That's the studio that is co-founded by a queer woman. Play as Luca, the host, and Rem, her less than cooperative counterpart. So it's like this kid is dying, like the student is dying, and then this demon shows up, and the demon is dying as well, and they kind of have to merge their souls to like survive, and they don't really have a choice, but like while you're playing as one body, they're kind of having this like inner conflict as you go.
Oh, that reminds me a lot of a game I played a while ago called Unepic.
Oh, and there was, not to like be completely on a sidetrack, there was like a really hot looking white haired villain looking guy, right, that they just flash at the end. I say hot like it's not a subjective term, but
I think you're right. I watched a lot of trailers today, so I don't remember everything. The Wholesome Direct was 2 hours before this, and I watched the Day of the Devs like this morning, so I've just been like overwhelmed with a bunch of trailers, which is why I have the Steam pages open to get everything straight. As straight as a queer podcast can be.
Teal hair? Do they have teal hair? Because I'm looking at the posters for them.
Let's see. It's possible. I believe you. He's not in, or they aren't in the trailer at all. It's just at the end when they show like the title, maybe the year that they're thinking of. It just like the like promotional material at the very end, and it's just like kind of looks like demon overlordy kind of vibes. But yeah, could be teal.
I'm just going through the trailer and I see a dude with like, kind of like, it has one head with one big eye on it with like 3 antlers kind of sticking out with more eyes on it. That's not the person you're talking about, right?
No, those aren't the hot vibes I'm going for. It's okay. I might have the wrong game, but
well, we'll figure it out. I'm sure it's fine. If we come across it, we'll point that out. But this next game we're going to talk about briefly because it does have some queer dating sim elements to it. But we've talked about it before, and there wasn't a ton of new info in this trailer. They were just kind of restating what we already knew. But this game is Neverway. It's coming to PC. It has no date. One of the Celeste team is working on this game. And they did personally confirm to me that there are queer dating options. I asked them on Twitter or Blue Sky and they confirmed this for me.
I really liked the art of that one. It looks like,
it's the anti-Stardew Valley.
Yes.
Well, it looks like the original Game Boy basically was able to do 4 different colors, which were actually just like gradients of like the pixel thing. So then you would apply color filters to them and just have like these kind of monochromatic, you know the word
monochromatic.
I'm thinking of. Monochromatic. I don't know why I can't talk today. Little palettes, but like in different colors that as a person who plays a lot of retro games with emulators and I'm constantly switching between like those different palettes, I'm like, oh, this is like a game where all of the environments are constructed out of palettes like that, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
Do you know how far along in development that is?
No. They only announced it a couple months ago. I have to assume maybe. I mean, it looks, from what they have shown, everything they've shown looks very far along, but we don't know for sure.
The art looks really beautiful, but all the gameplay stuff that I saw looked kind of like rough and janky, and I was like, I wonder if this is like, how far along is this where like, oh, do they still need to do a polished pass for all of the gameplay?
Yeah. I don't think it's coming this year, maybe not even next year. Sorry, Light. Yeah, you were going to say something?
No worries. All of like the farm tending, the life skills, like when you said anti-Stardew Valley, I was like, yeah, those are the exact vibes I was getting. Just like all the calm like life events mixed in with the dark, almost like eldritch horror vibes. I'm excited for it. All of the characters look very haunted, very like they show all the profiles of everybody near the end, kind of like in their pose, like combat, and they all look very weathered but very stylistic, and it's gonna be cool to see how this comes out. I'm really interested in what the actual gameplay looks like. They did flash a little bit, right? But in trailer form, it's definitely staged, or it's not a promise of what it's gonna be.
So just for some context here, I'll just read off the Steam summary. After quitting her dead-end job, Fiona starts over on a farm and becomes the immortal herald of a dead god. Make friends, fight through horrors, and pay your debt in this nightmarish life sim RPG. So yeah, it's like Stardew Valley, but you're in hell instead.
Stardew Valley, but edgy.
I don't know if I'd use the word edgy. I mean, maybe a little bit, but like I think this game is going to have more to the edge than just the edge, hopefully.
I don't use edgy as a pejorative. I like edgy, but it's like Stardew Valley, but it's like, it's messed up. There's a demon, elder god, blah, blah, blah. Where I'm like, okay, cool.
Fair, yeah.
I want to play it.
I've always used it as a negative, so I wanted to clarify.
Edgy is like mostly a good thing. Like I want some like dumb as hell edge for whatever I'm playing. I want to play like some Shadow the Hedgehog ass, like, I'm the herald of darkness. I love that stuff. Those vibes are immaculate.
That's fair. I don't think this is quite Shadow the Hedgehog level edge, though.
No, it
just
won't be.
Like throwing a gun into the gameplay to make it really
I'm just
weird.
saying, to be edgy is a positive descriptor that I could use for things that have vibes that I like.
Okay, we're almost through Day of the Devs and Summer Game Fest. I've just kind of blended the two together here. I haven't really clarified, and I didn't even in my notes clarify which presentation each one came from. I know for sure Scott Pilgrim and Sonic came from Summer Game Fest, but I think everything else came from Day of the Devs, and there was some overlap too. And there was some overlap with the Wholesome Direct as well, with Dosa Divas. But the last two games on the list, are not queer games. However, one of them comes from a queer supportive studio, so Allies, and the other one is related to a queer game that I think fans of that game will want to go back and play this if they haven't heard of it before. So the first game is Ratatan. This is ex-Sony Japan devs, and they are making a Patapon spiritual successor. I have not played Patapon before.
Patapon is really, really fun and cute. It's like a side-scrolling rhythm, like RTS. It's really cool and unique. It's one of those games where, like, oh, nothing else like this exists. It's a very, very unique idea. It's very, very, like, stylish and stuff. But, like, yeah, Patapon is really, really cool. And I was like, oh, is this Patapon? Is this, like, a spiritual successor to Patapon? And is it a Patapon game? Or I didn't actually catch what the title was.
It's called Ratatan. So it's spiritual successor, but I don't think they're actually involved with Sony this time.
Okay. Does it have the same devs, or is it just like one of those situations where like, hey, we really liked this thing and nobody's making it again?
To be honest, I'm not actually sure if the devs made Patapon in the first place, but they are ex-Sony Japan, so they have had some involvement, I imagine.
Okay, yeah, Patapon is really cool, so that's definitely something I'm interested in.
And the last game is Off. Which they're kind of porting / remastering to modern platforms. This game came out in 2008, and it was one of the games that inspired Undertale. So the game itself is not queer. However, I thought it might be relevant to gamers that like Undertale, for example, or Deltarune, and want something else to play, especially since Deltarune just dropped 2 new chapters, but as I understand it, there's still 3 more on the way, so there's still going to be a wait before the next ones. So if you want something else to play in the meantime, Off seems to be the way to go here. And I think it's coming out in August. Let's see here. I have the page open somewhere. Oh, here it is. Yes, August 15th, 2025. And so I'll just quickly read the Steam summary to kind of whet your appetites here. I'm the Batter. I've been entrusted with a sacred mission. One of the most influential RPGs of the last 20 years is finally coming to Steam. Take control of the Batter as he seeks to purify an uncanny and hopeless world haunted by specters, guided by a cryptic, grinning cat called the Judge. And it looks a lot like Undertale, like visually, aesthetically.
Yeah, it's that like very like minimalist RPG style where you essentially are relying on a mostly white to construct a lot of your visuals, and then like just kind of like really like it's like Undertale but way more messed up. Like, and again, that's a positive descriptor where like a lot of the enemy designs and stuff in Off are like really uncomfortable looking. Like, these things look like they're in pain to exist, and I like it a lot. Also, the soundtrack for Off, like, I haven't really played Off. I played the first couple hours, but I listened to the soundtrack, like, all the time, and it's fantastic. The soundtrack is so good and weird. It doesn't sound like anything else. It's, like, it's discordant in a way where it's like, this doesn't sound like how music is supposed to sound, but actually it's good, though. It's a weird, cool beat.
Yeah,
I don't even know what genre I'd call it.
Yeah, and like with that minimalism, it makes the music and the sound mixing just so much more impactful. Like everything has a lot of intentionality behind it. Yeah.
The battle theme is a song called Pepper Steak that like a decade ago I played like a billion times on like my whatever I was using to listen to music back then. But like go look up Off Pepper Steak if you want like a really, really cool, weird battle theme. And if you like the vibes, you'll probably like the game.
And yeah, that game title is Off. OFF, all caps. Although you could spell it OFF like normal, like the word off. But that's all the games from State of Play, Summer Game Fest, and Day of the Devs. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the Wholesome Direct, and it was loaded with queer games. So don't go far. Hi, True Avatars. We are back from the break. Our first break of the episode. This episode is going to have 2 breaks, actually. But we're now going to talk about the Wholesome Direct, which, as of right now, as of recording, it's 3 p.m., and the Wholesome Direct was at noon, so we haven't had a lot of time to let it percolate. But I did go through, as it was airing, or streaming rather, to find all the queer games and all the queer-related games as best as I could. I might have missed a couple, insofar as the information was either not immediately accessible, or maybe the devs just aren't very open about it. So if there's any games that I missed and I find out about them later, don't worry, I will talk about them at some point. If you're one of the devs in the show that's listening to this podcast and you're like, why didn't Zoe mention my game? Don't worry, I just didn't know. And reach out to me too if you had a game and you wanted to hear about it, or you think we should talk about it, because honestly, that's what the podcast is all about. So let's jump right into the Wholesome Direct. Lloyd and Zoe are still here with me.
Hello.
So the first game was I think it was one of the first games in the entire Wholesome Direct. It was called Instance. And not instance as in like CE at the end, but instance like multiple, like an instant basically. I'm trying to like explain it, but INSTANTS. Assemble a chronological puzzle of family photos to piece together their most cherished memories, sorry. Uncover the family's life story as you arrange the pictures in the correct order within a scrapbook and craft carefully crafted albums. Unleash your creativity and decorate them with multiple scrapbooking tools. So we had previously talked about another scrapbooking game. This is a different one, but it's also queer. We don't know how, but it has the LGBTQ plus tag on Steam.
Yep. And it looks very meditative. It looks really calm. It looks really I was noticing near the end of the trailer that they were also drinking hot beverages. And so it's got like a very very grounded, very not very busy vibe going on to it. And like with the scrapbooking, it even has like all the different like washi tapes and such. And it just seems like very, very, very relaxing.
Yeah. I don't really have anything to say on it. It looks neat, but not my kind of game.
That's fair. It's definitely a cozy kind of game. I think if you like stuff like unpacking, this game is for you. I do like the concept of like, I'm not sure if there's a correct order for the pictures or if you get to pick the order and then influence the narrative that way. It wasn't totally clear from the trailer. The description does say correct order, but when they were showing it, they were like, influence the story by the order you pick or something like that. So again, if I'm wrong, I'll correct it in a future podcast, but I do just like the concept of like, here's like pictures of these kids on a plane. Okay, one of them they're fighting, one of them they're getting along, and then another one, the mom is like sitting between them on the plane. And you're supposed to find the correct order. So like, it's clear that it's like play, fighting, and then the mom is between them. And they kind of show that order in the trailer, but I think that's super cool. Really fun.
What if the mom makes them fight? You put that one first, and now suddenly the mom is like the ringmaster.
Maybe. It's certainly possible. And it's definitely different than the other scrapbooking game we were talking about, whose the name is escaping me, but I'm going to look this up super quickly here. But they both have a different kind of vibe to the scrapbooking story. I typed in scrapping, which is not the same thing. Paper Trails, a scrapbooking story, was the other one. So that was the game where you were like taking different things that you could put in a scrapbook besides pictures. Like you could draw on it and like then you were influencing the story or like reacting to the story that way. Whereas this game is like mostly it focuses on the pictures and the washi tape and stuff like that. So that game is called Instance though. So there's scrapbooking, Paper Trails, a scrapbooking story, which is different. And then there's Instance, which is INSTANTS on Steam. And it actually is available right now. I don't think there's a demo with this one, but the game is available now, and it looks like the price, it's on sale actually, and it's on sale till June 21st. In Canadian, it's normally $15.49 and it's $12.85. I have to assume it's probably about $10 US, on sale for $7 or $8. Okay. So the next thing in the Wholesome Direct was actually something really cool. And actually I have a bone to pick with the Wholesome Direct a little bit over it. Not this, but specifically the content creators they had. So throughout the presentation, they showed these t-shirts they're selling, Wholesome Direct 2025 t-shirts to support a charity called Point of Pride. And they specifically highlighted trans people, queer people, but the Point of Pride, is a charity. Their mission is to help trans youth and adults access necessary life-saving health and wellness services. This includes annual annual transgender surgery fund, HRT access fund, an electrolysis support fund, Thrive fund, free chest binders, and free femme shapewear, which is super cool. So when this was in the Wholesome Direct so early on, I was like, okay, cool. They're a very queer, inclusive presentation. And it is.
Yeah, like they had everyone's pronouns and stuff when they were up.
They did. But I couldn't help but notice, there was no trans feminine people at all in the show.
Oh, maybe you didn't clock them.
I mean, maybe that's possible. But you want to.
I had a couple moments where I was like, "Oh, is she trans?" And then she talked, and I was like, "Well, no, unless she had the best voice coach I've ever heard."
Which is possible. I will say that. But however, I don't think there were any trans femme people in the presentation. I was a little sad about that. I was like, it's super inclusive, and it was mostly women. And there were trans people, there were non-binary people, but there were no trans femme people specifically, and I was a little disappointed considering this charity specifically seems very heavily leaning towards trans feminine people.
A hot take, but as a trans woman who works in game dev and knows a lot of other like trans women in game dev, we don't make cozy games, we make disgustingly violent, angry games. Trans men make cozy games.
I'm available, Wholesome Direct. I can host. I can
gotta
introduce a game.
You gotta get way more popular by next year's so that you can come on.
Share the
That's the goal.
podcast so I can be on Wholesome Direct next year, people, please.
That's
And
right.
get me into GDC. Wait, no, I can't go to GDC because it's in America. Okay, yeah, get Zoe into the Wholesome Direct.
Let's move on now, because I just want to highlight that they did highlight this Point of Pride charity, which I thought was really cool, despite my gripes with everything else. The next game is not a queer game, although the dev that makes it makes other games that are queer. It's Us2 Games, and the game itself is Monument Valley 3. So yeah, the devs are allies, they made other queer games, but this series specifically is not queer. So I'll just quickly highlight this. Set sail for a world-changing adventure as you guide Noor in their quest through a series of mind-bending illusions and atmospheric puzzles. Actually, I don't remember there being they-them pronouns in this bio before, so maybe it is slightly queer. Can you unlock the secrets of the mysterious world and the meaning behind the sacred light? This game is due out July 22nd, and I do believe it's also coming to other platforms. I think it was in the Switch Direct at one point. Let me just double-check that. It is coming to Android, iOS, Nintendo Switch, and PC.
Cool.
This next game is one of the games I've talked about that I thought was years away, and it is available right now. So a few episodes ago, I talked about a game called Seasonala Cemetery, which is based on a Toronto cemetery made by Toronto people, which seems to be a very queer-heavy development team. Anyway, the Steam description is as follows. A meditative experience that invites players to explore the serene beauty of a living, breathing cemetery as it changes with the seasons. And as I highlighted before, this game takes place in real time. So it's summer right now, or we're heading into summer. I'm sure you can get 2 weeks out of spring in the game, but then it's going to become summer. And then it'll be summer in the game for as long as it is summer in the real world. And then fall, and then winter. Yeah.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I didn't catch that, actually. Huh.
It's not in the whole... They don't talk about that in the Wholesome Direct. I found that through research from the last episode.
Interesting.
Wow, so then how would you play the game? Do you, log in a couple times throughout the year?
I think that's the idea. I think it's supposed to be something chill and laid back to play.
It's like an Animal Crossing type thing. AKA cheat by changing your system clock.
You could do that too, for sure. But yeah, it's
maybe you
available right
can't.
now, so...
Animal Crossing was when internal clocks were governing it, but can you cheat at this game? Because it's pretty easy to just have it do a web-based time thing.
Well, it's only on PC, so if you can change the clock on your PC, I'm sure it's possible to do that. I'm not techie enough to even know if that's possible, but
depends on what it's referencing.
But yeah, so the game is available now, which is super cool. When I first saw this game, they didn't talk about a date, they didn't really didn't say much. I just thought it was in development, and it looked like something I'd be following for a while. And it's available now, which is super cool. So I'll be diving into this at some point in the next little while. I'm excited.
Yay!
Next up, we have Camper Van Make It Home. So it wasn't clear to me at first if this was queer or not, but I think it does have the tag. And it is another game that is available now. Yes, it does have the LGBTQ plus tag. So anyway, decorate and organize the camper van of your dreams. Embark on a journey of self-discovery as you build your home on wheels. Using a combination of creative block organization puzzles and relaxing interior design, make your heart feel at ease and your camper van feel like home.
Yeah, this one, I was equating it a lot to unpacking or similar games where you have control over, very satisfying things fitting into the environment. And this one seems to have some more directionality. You can rotate things. I don't know if you can change the color or if you buy them. I'm not sure what informs how you get the items you have, but in the trailer it looked like you can even go as far as changing what your van is, either upgrading it or getting different models of it. But it has a level of customization that I wasn't expecting. But this one looks really, really cute, really calming, aesthetic goals, really. So it looks like a really nice game. It's kind of funny how many games are, in the cozy or wholesome umbrella that is just, take a minute, don't worry about anything. There's no timer. There's no, just move things and make satisfying sounds.
Yeah, for sure. It comes from Malapata Studios. And while you were talking, Lloyd, I realized I hadn't been mentioning if there's demos in some of these games. So Monument Valley 3 has a demo that you can play right now. So that means it's not part of Steam Next Fest. It should be available at all times. And I went to go check to see if Seasonala Cemetery had a demo. And it doesn't have a demo because it's actually free to play.
Oh.
Yay!
Everyone go play it.
Everyone go play it. You have no excuse. It is free. It takes all year. You can play it at your leisure. Explore a cemetery. It's great. And then yes, camper van make it home looks like super cozy. It looks like you can like upgrade your vehicle and change out your vehicle. At one point I saw a double-decker bus in the trailer, which is super cool. So like as you're playing through the game, like, hey, you want a second floor in your house? Cool. Your house is a car, but also you get a second floor. So, and that's what prompted me. I was like, I should see if this has a demo while Lloyd is talking. Oh, it has a demo. I'm like, wait, do the other games have? But yes, this game also has a demo, which means it's not part of Steam Next Fest because the demo's available now and Steam Next Fest doesn't start till Monday. And I know this podcast comes out on Monday, but we're recording on Saturday right now. Next up, we have Fireside Feelings. I was trying to grasp what this gameplay loop was, because I think the story and the premise and the art are fantastic. And it's not really till the end of the trailer you get a sense for what really the gameplay loop is. Because it's about conversations. And this game, it comes from Team Apprentice. I'm not pronouncing that correctly. But it's got the queer tag. And it looks adorable. Like, even though it's like animals, like humanoid animals, and there's like a little fire that kind of looks like the one from Studio Ghibli. He's like a little flame with a face. And so you're having conversations around this little fire guy in different locations. Share your thoughts and discover those shared by others in Fireside Feelings. Gather around the welcoming warmth of the campfire and take part in conversations between people separated in space and time. Sometimes we all need a good talk under the stars. And so I was like, well, what is the gameplay? Like, it's a conversation, but like you actually get to type in your answers to the other person who's talking. It's not a multiplayer game, so you're like interacting with the bots in the game, but you actually do get to type your answers. I saw at the very end of the trailer, they do show like you can input what you want to say, which I think is super cool.
Yeah, I was getting like escape the big city, return to nature, meet lovely animals by the fire that talk to you, and I was like, oh, this seems nice. Live forever in the woods. This seems like don't go back to that job. In the trailer, they looked very unhappy at their office job in the city, and I was like, go, be free. But that looks neat. And I maybe it's just like my age showing, but whenever there's you don't have predetermined dialogue options, I'm always a little curious about how that's going to manifest like the other person's response, like typing in like what's informing that, or how
are they parsing it?
Yeah, is it going to break my immersion if like I type something in and it sort of like interprets it weird, or like gives me a generic response?
This is one of the few situations where like LLMs are actually really, really useful for like, conforming like fluid text to like a specific set of options.
So this game does not have a demo. It's called Fireside Feelings. However, it is available now, and it's 40% off until June 17th. So the Canadian price is $10.49, and it's available for $6.29 right now, which is even cheaper in USD. So, there's almost no excuses to go try this one out. It's super cheap, super accessible, and it's not even the Steam summer sale yet, and it's already got a great discount. So, next up, this is a game I actually didn't even realize was queer because I didn't catch the Easter egg in this game, but Zoe did. So this is called Squeakross, Home Squeak Home, and it's a Picross-like game about a mouse. So in Squeakross, Home Squeak Home,
a rat.
Transform.
I actually don't know because I like rats and my girlfriend likes rats, and I don't think we have any strong feelings about mice, so I parsed the entire Steam page to try and find instances of the word rat or mouse, and I couldn't find either because the game only refers to them as rodent friends, probably to avoid the deep-rooted conflict between rats and mice people.
That's fair, and also rat has negative connotations. I don't have a problem with rats personally. I think
I love rats.
Mice are cute, so
I much prefer rats to mice.
But the Steam page says, solve and transform puzzles into furniture to decorate the perfect home for your rodent friend. There you go. Collect hundreds of decorations, accessories, and stickers in this cozy game full of charm. So, yeah, there's the Picross element. There's, like, the home organization element to it. It's by the studio Abloon. There is a demo right now. It's available today as well to buy the full game. It's on sale for 10% off. Normally $20. It's $18.99 or $17.99, sorry. And Zoe, can you remind me how you figured out this was a queer game?
Oh, they're just in the trailer. There's like a little flag as one of the things you can get. It's like the Progress Pride flag that also has like the yellow triangle with the circle.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I didn't catch that, but any game that includes that has to be at least allies. So, because there's like, if you're going to include like a flag just for the sake of it, it's probably just going to be the generic pride flag. And this is the kind of climate right now, politically and generally speaking, where people don't just include pride shit for the hell of it. So that's nice to see.
Yeah, it looks fun. It looks cute. I like rats.
Yeah,
I think my girlfriend is probably going to like it. She said she would play it. I showed her the trailer right before we started recording.
Well,
nice. And like the solve and transform puzzles into furniture. I'm curious if how that gameplay loop's gonna go. Like if after the 70th puzzle, like it's like okay, they use 3 different puzzles that repeat, or how that's gonna feel. So that'll be interesting. But overall, it looks really nice.
I had no idea what the name for that type of puzzle was, but then when my girlfriend was watching the trailer, she was like, "Oh, it's this," and I can't remember what she said.
Is it Picross?
No, Picross is the name of a game, but like this type of puzzle is apparently like a specific one.
Oh, really? Huh.
I just assumed because the title is Squeakross. I assumed it was a play on Picross, to be
Well,
honest.
Picross and this are probably referencing this type of puzzle, is what I'm thinking.
Oh, okay. That's fair. Okay. Let's move on. There's a new trailer for Fishbowl. Fishbowl is a slice-of-life coming-of-age story told over a month. Video call loved ones, work from home, sort through puzzles to rediscover childhood memories, do care tasks, and get to know yourself better one day at a time. This comes from imissmyfriends.studio. I think this game was at last year's showcases as well, so it's been in development for a while. There is a demo right now that you can play. I was very curious about this game until I saw one of the gameplay loops, and this is not a criticism of the gameplay loop itself, just that I do this for a living and I would not play this in a video game, and there's a video editing element to it. And look, this is not a criticism of Fishbowl. I think the game looks amazingly cute and charming, and I still want to play it, but fuck no. I don't work 8-9 hours a day editing, and I don't do the podcast all day on Sunday to then go play a fun version of editing. I can't imagine that. I'm sorry.
I can't relate to this at all, because like one of the coolest indie games ever is Baba Is You, where it's just like, hey, what if like a video game was structured out of programming logic? And I love it. I'm a programmer. I'm always like, oh, the game lets me like automate systems with programming logic. Hell yeah! Like I sold my girlfriend on playing Final Fantasy 12 because I was like, oh, the Gambit system lets you automate things with like, you know, like a hierarchical series of essentially if statements. Like you can use an if tree to make your party do stuff. And she was like, oh, I gotta play it now.
So that was Fishbowl. Next up, we have Cappy Castaway. Embark on a whimsical adventure with a capybara pup and a clever crow as they set off to find their way home. This, first off, I'm still reading the summary, but this looks freaking adorable. Like, I'm so excited for this. Sniff, dig, and explore a vibrant world brimming with wonder, challenges, and heartwarming friendships at every turn. So the story is that you're this capybara who's, like, just born at the zoo, and then the zoo gets flooded, and some of the animals, it looks like, not all, but they all get shipwrecked on this island, basically. Which is why they're castaway. It looks adorable. There's this baby capybara, and as you play the game, this corvid rides on your back. Or I guess it's a crow. Corvids are a type of, like, crows are a type of corvid, right? I'm never clear on corvid names.
Corvid is like the higher level, like taxonomic whatever, that includes ravens and crows and I think jackdaws and maybe magpies.
Okay. And the character's name too, the reason I'm also confused is that I think the crow's name is Corvi. Yeah, this game looks so freaking cute. There's no release date. It comes from Kitten Cup Studio. There's no demo, although maybe there will be one Monday. Again, we're recording this on Saturday, so we don't know yet, but maybe there'll be one as part of Steam Next Fest, and if there is, I'll definitely be playing it. So we do have a Steam Next Fest episode we're going to be recording on Thursday for release just before the weekend, so you have time to listen to all the queer games at Steam Next Fest, and then play them next weekend before Steam Next Fest ends, because as we know, the games are time sensitive.
Oh yeah, so Cappy Castaway, I like how morbid it is, because like at the beginning of the trailer it shows the flood come through, then this happy capybara family just gets fucking yoinked into who knows where, and I was like, oh my goodness, like but then you're walking around as this capybara, and it's really cute. I love games that are deceptively cute and whimsical, because the things behind it seem a little bit more morbid, because one of the characters you interact with said something like, are we alive? And I was like, wait a second. Like, wait a second. Like, is this limbo? Like, what's going on? So that one looks cute.
Yeah, I'm really, really excited for it. But of course, there's no release date, and they're indie devs. I hope they take all the time they need to make this as cute and fun as possible. I've waited years for some indie games. I'll wait years for this too. Like, I don't care. It looks great.
We're never gonna play all of the games that exist in our lives, so like, take your time. I've grown out of getting like, oh no, I need to play this as soon as it comes out. No, I'll wait 5 years. It's fine.
Yeah, oh my god, the backlog question too. Yeah, there's like all the games here. Like, I would really love to play every single one of these games and talk about it on the podcast and give each game its own episode. It's not humanly possible. I can't see it, but I just went like I went from smiley to deadpan there.
I'm not going to play all of the games that I want to play in my life, and that's fine, because life isn't a list of achievements.
Yeah, I would love to be able to play all of them, though. I'm like, when I add a game and I buy a game with the intent to play it right away, and then something happens usually, and I can't play it right away, or I'm like, hey, I'm going to play it this weekend, and then life happens. My plan is, like, when I'm retired, I'm going to have a backlog of video games and some old consoles, and I'm just going to play all of them. Hopefully all that tech survives until then, and there isn't the doom of the apocalypse coming, you know?
Yeah.
You'll still find stuff that gets in the way, but it's fine. You don't need to complete a backlog. You can just play the games that you want to play. That's all I do now. I've detached myself from the need to finish a list.
They're all games I want to play, though, and I don't have time to play the games I want to play.
You won't. You won't play all of them, but you'll play some of them.
Why are you bullying me?
I'm not bullying you. It's nice. It's freeing. I'm freeing you from this.
I was just gonna say, is this like nihilism, where it's like, since nothing matters, like you can enjoy what does matter? Like,
well, it's like well, she's not being nihilist, and I'm trying to turn that into absurdism.
Okay. I see it. I feel it. I see the vision.
Just give up. Just give up, and just enjoy the games that you play.
Well, I do when I have time to game. This week has not been that week. I bought a Switch 2, and I've played it for, I think, 3 hours total. Also partly because it took a while to like download and update everything and just like get the system set up. And I got it at midnight. So, like I was up to like 3 a.m. just like getting it set up. And then I was like, oh, it's 3 a.m. Everything's installed. Kind of. I can finally play Mario Kart. Oh, I should go to bed. I have work in the morning. So, but anyway, this next game. So we were talking about, Cappy Castaway. We're moving on now to, Townbox, and I'll just quickly talk about this because it's not a queer game, but the devs do seem to be allies. I could not confirm if there were any queer people on the team, but every single person making this game had pronouns in bio, which is always reassuring because, like, usually, unless it's a big company, like a big studio, small teams don't do that unless there's queer people on the team. Again, I'm not going to assume anything. They could just be really cool allies that are with the times. But it's the year 2025. You don't just see pronouns in bio everywhere anymore. So anyway, this game is called Townbox. It's a single-player sandbox town-building game with an emphasis on creativity and self-expression. Take on the role of trainee town planner and expand your teeny-tiny starting island, by the way, which is a tower of an island into the clouds, which looks kind of gives me, like, height issues. Like, I'm scared of heights. If I was living in this town, I would, like, just probably be scared of falling. I'd be standing right in the middle with my ass firmly planted on the ground. But anyway, starting island into a bustling town of your own design. I think this looks super cute and charming.
Yeah.
Comes from Video Dojo Games. Like I said, they're allies. There's no release date. I think the only platforms announced currently are PC, as far as I can tell. And there's no demo, although I'm hopeful maybe Steam Next Fest will have one. Okay, we have 3 more games, I think. Yes, 3? Let me double check.
How are we doing for time?
We are... Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Oh, we're coming up on time. Yeah, okay, let's burn through these. Okay, explore them. This is Murray Wildwoods, and this is being developed by Spelldosa Interactive. It's made by Teeny, a trans woman. This wasn't immediately clear, but I found the game dev's profile, and there's a big trans flag in there. So, which is always super cool to see. I always find one game every time there's a showcase where it's just made by like a singular trans woman making this game. But anyway, so this game is called Murray Wildwoods. Explore the mysterious wildwoods as a brave Murray. Solve puzzles, befriend adorable creatures, and cleanse the island and its inhabitants from corruption. Bring back vibrant colors and restore nature's beauty in this cozy adventure filled with mystery and wondrous discoveries. It is a platformer, it's a sim, and it's very casual and cozy. It looks very cute. Any quick thoughts before we move on?
Wildwoods, you said?
Murray Wildwoods.
I'm just trying to find them right now. But no, I have no real thoughts. Which one was this? Was this part of the sizzle reel? Are we in like the 45 games they showed in 2 minutes?
We're in sizzle reel territory where I spent more time looking up stuff from the sizzle reel than I did watching the entire direct because there was so much in there. But yeah, this game has no release date. There is a playtest right now that you can request access for, but there is no open demo.
Interesting.
Next up, we have Gemporium. another game where I wasn't sure because it doesn't have the LGBTQ plus tag. But I looked up Merge Conflict Studio, and the studio co-founder is queer. So Gemporium. Mine, refine, and sell gemstones of various rarities to eagerly await customers in Gemporium, a mining simulation management game. Their minerals, Marie. Manage your time wisely. I added that. Your time wisely while purchasing upgrades and growing your shop's reputation day by day. If anyone's seen Breaking Bad, they'll know what I'm referencing there. There is a demo available now. The release date is this year, although there's no specific date. But it's just, it's like this. It's like all the mining parts of like Stardew Valley kind of is the best comparison I can make to it.
Yeah,
Stardew Valley was like one of the most influential games of the last 20 years. Everyone wants to make Stardew Valley games.
What I really liked, I just really, really, really liked the trailer for this one. The art is gorgeous. The character portraits, gorgeous. They show a vendor or someone you can buy something from or sell something to, and just all the details in the character models are really pretty. And the music's nice. The vibes are good. And I really liked. I'm a sucker for really good sound mixing, especially like ASMR level sounds. And so like all of the mining and all of the selling, everything had like a very crisp like production sound to it. And I was like, okay, you have my attention. Like after watching all of these other trailers, this one jumped right out.
Okay, and sorry, I'm just going to move us along now because we have one more game left, and this is a game we're going to talk about very quickly because I talked about it in depth in a previous episode. We talked about this back in episode 35, Crescent County. Lesbian Witches Taking Over is the episode title. So this is the like racing, you're on a broom, but the broom is kind of like a motorbike. They call it a motor broom game. Akami and I talked about this as well. Crash headfirst into this witch tech open world, drifting and driving on the back of your new motor broom. Make deliveries, trick out your broom, and race your new friends and crushes as the sun sets. Get into gossip, sort out your life, and discover what it means to find home. This is a lesbian witch game that has racing elements, and the Kickstarter is still available right now. I think it's still open to help fund the game, but I do think they've met their goal. They met it in the first 23 hours actually. And if you want to hear more about this, please go back and listen to episode 35. It's timestamped. Okay, we made it to the end of the Wholesome Direct. We made it to the end of all the showcases that we've seen so far.
Yay!
Where can people find you guys?
I'm looking up Crescent County now. Oh, there was one that we didn't talk about that was probably my most anticipated one. It's not queer, but it was the Thickest Thieves game made by Warren Spector and his team. I love stealth games. That's my favorite genre. And he's making a multiplayer stealth game that's kind of like structurally single player, but then other people are there. And I really, really... I don't like multiplayer games in general, so the fact that they made me want to play a multiplayer game is like, ooh, multiplayer ImSim stealth, yeah.
Lloyd, did you have any games that we didn't talk about super quick?
No, there might have been, but there's so much. At this moment, I'm appeased. Thank you.
That's fair. Me too, yeah. I'll just quickly shout out Gecko Gods has a demo available now, and I've been excited for this game for a long time as someone who owns a leopard gecko as a pet. But we are out of time, and I have to move on to the next segment, which I'm going to record tomorrow, where I'm going to talk about Xbox, where I'm going to talk about the Accessibility Summer Showcase, the Xbox Showcase, and Frosty Games Fest. Where can people find you guys?
I'm Zoe Leet on Blue Sky. If you just look up like Zoe the game dev, that's kind of my only public thing. I got rid of most of my socials because of fascism reasons, and I'm just on Blue Sky now.
Nice, yeah. I'm Lloydster, the Lloyd.Lloydster or Lloyd_Lloydster on most platforms: Blue Sky, TikTok, Twitch. Probably getting off Meta soon, but for now I'm on Instagram and Facebook as well.
Amazing. Thank you both so much for joining me and for powering through these barrage of games.
Yeah, and now listeners, watch as for you no time passes, and yet for Zoe an entire day passes. Behold the magic of podcasts. Okay, bye. Have a good one.
Hi, True Avatars. Welcome back from the break, and it is now Sunday. It has been a whole day, and there have been many more showcases that I'm going to cover. It's just me this time. So, and I was going to cover the Women-Led Games Showcase as well, because I actually found a bunch more queer games in there too, which is great. Plus, some of them we've already talked about were in there too. But I'll cover that next week. So today we're going to do the Accessibility Summer Showcase, Frosty Games Fest, and then finally the Xbox Showcase, which actually had a couple exciting reveals. Nothing really queer heavy, but still some cool stuff. So we have a lot to get through. Starting with the Accessibility Summer Showcase, and that's like access/ability or dash ability. And there were a few games here actually, and I'm going to cover a little bit about them, and I'm going to cover in what way they're accessible as well. But because there's a lot of games to get through, there's just going to be a little bit on each game, because I want to just give each game a little bit of time in the sun before I move on. So, the Accessibility Summer Showcase 2025. Let's dive right in. So the first game I found was Heartspell Horizon Academy. So this is a match game. Match gems, level up, and date wizards in this match 3 visual novel with a lot of heart and a little spice. From deep relationships with fairies, sirens, and werewolves, each with their own endearing personalities and challenges. Make choices that affect your relationships and their destinies. So this comes from Dire Kitten Games, and it does have the LGBTQ plus tag on Steam. And it has the no reliance on audio category, cognitive accessibility, and font legibility. It's very adorable. It's got a very kind of sugary art style, which I love. And I like just like the dating the monsters aspect. I think that's super cool. I love this. I'm not entirely sure about the match 3 thing for myself, but I think it's an interesting way to do kind of like a bit of an RPG dating sim visual novel thing. And as far as I can tell, it's coming to PC only right now, and it's coming sometime in 2025 with no set date. So the next game was Trash Goblin, and this game did not have the LGBTQ plus tag. However, I did figure out that there's a non-binary person on the lead dev team. This game comes with motor accessibility, no reliance on audio, cognitive accessibility, and font legibility. And the Steam summary is as follows. A wholesome, cozy shopkeeping game with no time pressure. Uncover and clean trinkets, then upcycle them to sell to endless, colorful, and quirky customers. Spend your savings to upgrade your shop, buy better tools, plus expand and customize your space. So it's not entirely like Stardew, but it's going to appeal to the kind of people that like Stardew Valley, I think. So like you start off with this tiny shop, and you start off with a few little goods and trinkets, and you clean them up, you upgrade your shop, but also you're bonding with the customers too. So there's a scene in the trailer where you're like kind of figuring out like you have regular customers basically, and you're growing that relationship. So I assume you're going to find new trinkets and you're going to put them aside for future customers. And so it's got that little bit of visual novel sim aspect to it, which I love. And don't let the name fool you. Trash Goblin. It's got an adorable art style. It's like, it oozes cuteness, honestly. So when I first saw the title, I was like, Trash Goblin. This could go any direction, but, and this next game is actually called Wednesdays, and I'm not going to talk about it too deeply because it does have a very intense content warning. And I'll just explain why there's a content warning. The game is about raising awareness for child sexual abuse, and I'm just going to leave it there. There's a link to the Steam page in the show notes if you'd like to know more, but the game was developed by a trans woman. It doesn't have the LGBTQ plus tag on Steam, but if this does interest you, I do think it's worth looking into. I just didn't really want to talk about it too heavily on the podcast because of the content, like the subject matter, basically. So, next up we have Soul Blaze, which does have the LGBTQ plus tag. It's kind of a Pokemon-like, actually. It has lots of accessibility features, like playable without sighted assistance, motor accessibility, no reliance on audio, cognitive accessibility, colorblind friendly, and font legibility. And so it's kind of like, it's got a very simple battle layout. Like it's like kind of like profiles, like from the side. So whereas Pokemon's kind of like over the shoulder, this just shows you like the side of the battle as if you're a spectator. And the creatures in this game are actually called Animon, kind of like Pokemon, but like I almost want to say it's like the Walmart brand name for Pokemon. But all the creatures are super cute. You know, there's like cute ones, there's like creepy ones. The art style is very like the art style is 2D, looks hand drawn, kind of like Flash animated almost. But anyway, the Steam summary is as follows: catch Animons and roll some dice in this cute creature collecting roguelite. Build your team, train them well, and fight your way through several regions. Can you defeat all bosses? And this is coming soon from Sword and Quill. And actually, I realized I wasn't reading out the dev names for a couple of the other games. So Trash Goblin comes from Spilt Milk Studios Limited, and Wednesdays comes from Pixel Hunt. And Pierre Corbinet, Exaheva, and Christophe Galati. So just wanted to read those out too before I forgot. And then so Soul Blaze, which is the Pokemon-like, comes from Sword and Quill. And currently as well, I don't think Trash Goblin's already out. Sorry, I realized Trash Goblin's already out. It's been a long weekend. You'll have to forgive me. Wednesdays is also already out, and Soul Blaze isn't out yet. It just says coming soon, but there is a demo available right now. And because this is Sunday before Steam Next Fest, all the games that do have demos are not part of Steam Next Fest as far as I can tell. So the demos should be up indefinitely as far as I know. Again, I can't guarantee that, but they're not going to go away with the end of Steam Next Fest as far as I can tell. So the next game, and it's our second last game from the Accessibility Summer Showcase, is called Gales of Naeli. Face an impending darkness threatening the world of Leuven alongside Naeli. Even? I'm actually not sure. Alongside Naeli and an interesting cast of warriors. Control varied battlefields in a grid-based strategy RPG format to bring an end to conflict that is certain to echo across generations. So this comes from Blind Coco Studios. It does have the LGBTQ plus tag. In terms of accessibility, it's playable without sighted assistance, has motor accessibility options, no reliance on audio, cognitive accessibility, colorblind friendly, and font legibility. And it's got a cute art style. I really like this one. It's got like a very classic feeling. Again, a profile kind of element to the side, like the battles, kind of like Soul Blaze has as well. And yeah, it just like it kind of oozes queerness. Like there's no overt queerness in the trailer, but I just get this like my gaydar is going off, you know. So, and it comes from Blind Coco Studios. There is no release date currently, and there is a demo currently available for that. It's called Gales of Naeli. And the final game is Coming Home. That's the name of the game. It's an Five Nights at Freddy's fan game that's kind of been like reworked to not be, you know, copyright infringement. A retro slasher horror game with a focus on home defense. In the dead of night, you hear someone lurking outside, but you are not defenseless. Watch the cameras, barricade your doors, and have your gun at the ready. Anything to keep the Sundown Rippers from claiming their next victim. So this game is set in the 80s, as far as I can tell. The technical director / studio lead is a trans woman, although the game does not have the LGBTQ plus tag, so I don't think there's going to be too much direct LGBTQ content in the game. And it has lots of accessibility features like motor accessibility, no reliance on audio, cognitive accessibility, colorblind friendly, font legibility, and a content warning. Obviously, because it's like, there's lots of like shots of like your first person character getting eviscerated because it's a slasher game. But this looks great. If you like 80s slashers and you can stomach, you know, scary games, I think this is for you. This looks really good. Or even if you like Five Nights at Freddy's, actually, you probably like this too. So it's got like a CRT filter that you can turn off and on. You can change the intensity of the CRT filter, giving you that like 80s watching on TV home video vibes too, which I love. So it says it's coming in 2026, and actually it doesn't look like there's a demo on this one. So we'll have to wait a little bit longer. And that's the Accessibility Summer Showcase 2025. We got through that pretty quickly. So I'm going to move on to Frosty Games Fest, which I only knew about it because of Misk: A Tiny Tale. I knew that game was going to be there. So I was like, well, maybe there's other queer games. And it was a gold mine for queer games. So we're going to jump into Frosty Games Fest now. And there were, like I said, there were a lot of games here. Most of them had the LGBTQ plus tag. And then there were a couple that didn't, but they were very clearly made by queer people to some extent. So the first game here is Matchmaker Dungeon Heart, which has the LGBTQ plus tag. It's another game that has like RPG elements. But it's another like kind of match 3 game, which again, I'm not really sure about, but there's a lot of queerness in the characters and the interactions because it's also a dating sim. And again, like my gaydar was going off the whole time I was watching the trailer for this. The Steam summary is as follows. Matchmaker Dungeon Heart is a narrative-driven dating and romance sim featuring match 3 gameplay. Train with the monstrous inhabitants of the dungeon, you may find yourself falling in love. So this game has actually been out for a while, so it's already available. It comes from Ghost Moth. And it's already available because it's an early access game. So there is also a demo, though, in addition to the fact that you can buy it right now for about 18 Canadian dollars for early access. And of course, early access means the game is not finished. They are looking for feedback from players. It's still in development. So if this is something that interests you and you're okay with a game that might not be perfect or polished entirely, you can definitely purchase it now. And usually when games are early access, they're cheaper than when they go full access, when they actually finally launch proper. So you generally get them for a discount and you get them ahead of time. You get to play them early. So I've played a lot of early access games that like ended up being amazing. Next up, we have Key Fairy, and this game does have the LGBTQ plus tag. A hand-drawn pacifist folkloric bullet hell. Grapple and dance around monsters to collect their shattered stars, weave your way through twisting paths, encounter strange folk, uncover ancient magic, and evade forgotten gods in this frenetic 2D action adventure. I'm not sure. There were a couple games I saw that were bullet hell, but one of them mentioned being pacifist. I'm not sure if this is one of those games. I watched a lot of trailers this weekend. Games aren't blurring together too much, but they are a little bit. But this one has a very black and white art style with like bits of red throughout, and it comes from Owl Machine. It doesn't have a release date, but there is a demo available now. So if this interests you, I think it's got a really pretty art style. Yeah. And also I should mention too, Frosty Games Fest is an Australia/New Zealand focused games showcase. So all these games come from, down under, as they say, as we say here in Canada anyway. So, next up, we have a game called Try Hard. This game kind of reminds me about a bit of Golf Story. It's a turn-based sports RPG about managing an underdog rugby club in New Zealand. Outsmart opponents and upgrade your squad, but also feed your dog and go on dates in this epic saga of love, betrayal, and community sports. So this comes from Grapefruit Games. I almost said Grapefruit Games. It is from husband duo developer team, which I think is awesome. So that wasn't on the Steam page either. I had to dig a little bit for that information. It has no current release date, but it's got this game layout where you're like, it's like a frisbee, not a frisbee. It's like a rugby game, but it's like an RPG. Like instead of playing the sports like you would like a Madden or like a FIFA kind of like a sports game, you're like fighting each other on the field. And at one point, like you can recruit people to your team, and at one point you can recruit a dog, and someone says like, you can't put a dog in rugby, and then it smash cuts to the dog playing rugby in the battle, fighting opponents, which I think is super cool. It's very funny. I'm curious to know more about the dating aspects of it, like the dating sim aspects, but I think the game has a very interesting premise, and I think if it's anything like what the trailer promises, and if anything, it's anything like Golf Story, I think this is going to be one to look out for sure. Again, no release date yet, but wishlist it for sure. And then the next game here we have is Foodamina. So Foodamina is a top-down, turn-based combat RPG set in space. So in the galaxy Foodamina, play as two cute food girls and fight mold in space. Explore foodie planets and make friends to save the universe from mold infection. But the mold people used to be food people. Maybe there's another way. And maybe that way is food puns. So yeah, this trailer is super adorable. There's some visual novel elements to it with some of the dialogue. And the two main characters I think are called Tempura and Takoyaki. So they're like food personified. And yeah, this game is full of food puns. So this is like right up my alley. This looks great. I've already wishlisted it. And yeah, there's a demo available right now. It comes from Lumelli Studios, and I do think it does, yes. It has the LGBTQ plus tag. I'm not sure how the game is queer, but it does have the tag. So take it easy knowing that this game has queer content in some form. And there's a demo available, which is great. Next up, we have Your Holy and Virtuous Heretic, which is this like dark looking kind of scary game, but also kind of like a little tongue in cheek as far as I can tell. So anyway, it's called Your Holy and Virtuous Heretic. A first-person turn-based journey into the occult. Who will stand with Alistair at the end of days? The developer is called I Will Bite Raw Coffee Beans, all lowercase. That's just the name of the dev. So when I saw the dev's name, I was like, this person is queer. They have to be. Like, there's no way they're not. And sure enough, the dev is a queer man. So it's got some RPG elements. It's like dark and atmospheric. Like there's a lot of red and black in the art design. And it's supposed to be set in the year 18XX. Which I think is kind of funny. So there is no release date currently for this game. It just says coming soon. However, there is a demo available now if you are interested in this. Oh, and I should say the overworld also has kind of like a PS1 and 64 art style, whereas the battle mode actually kind of looks a little bit like Undertale, or even Off, like we talked about earlier. Next up, we have a game called Malice, and this Malice is actually spelled Malys. Expose, endure, and expel evil from innocence on your hunt for unholy vengeance. As Noah, choose your path carefully through a demon-filled city, forge precarious alliances, and strengthen your deck of arcane tricks. Pursue your past, confront fear itself, and illuminate your own path. So, this comes from Summerfall Studios. It's supposed to be coming this year. There is no demo. But it looks like it's like a card game, RPG, deck builder. Actually, I don't know if there's an RPG element in this at all. No. But there's turn-based combat. So, it looked a little RPG-like to me, except with cards and stuff. So I didn't fully really understand the trailer for this one, but reading through the Steam page here, it says written by David Gator, former BioWare lead writer on the Dragon Age series and creative director on Summerfall's own Stray Gods, the role-playing musical. Malice is our unholy roguelite deck builder with a beautifully hand-illustrated style. So, even if this game doesn't necessarily appeal to me, I think, like, on paper, all of that sounds great. Like, this is a queer game through and through. It did not have the LGBTQ plus tag on Steam. I will note that. However, there is a non-binary person on the lead dev team, and also David Gator, who worked on like Dragon Age and Stray Gods, which are both very queer games. So I think this one is safe to say there'll be some queerness to it if it's not like front and center with it. So next up we have, and we're almost there, we have 4 more games to talk about. So we have Cyber Paradise coming in 2026 from DD Meow Games. And this game was only up on screen for 15 seconds. It's a side scroller with pixel, like classic style pixel graphics. Looks kind of Game Boy Advance like. And the Steam summary: Action Dogs Cafe. Revive Minnie the dog digitally in an atmospheric, neon-drenched cyberpunk world of roguelite action and cafe stories. It has a demo, an open alpha, and it just looks super charming. It's got like this like cyberpunk, sugary blend of an art style. It reminds me a little bit of Psychroma, just a little bit, if Psychroma's main color was pink instead of like a dark green. And I'm just looking through the description here. It says, explore biomes and battle monsters spawned from Minnie the dog's past life experiences. Petting your dog parries attacks and deflects projectiles. Okay, I'm sold. So basically, yeah, the character is running around with his dog, Minnie the dog. It looks like he's riding him at some point. And yeah, it looks very intense. Like there's a lot of like action combat in this 2D platformer. Hit streaks activate turbo and make your weapon super big and super fast. Equip cards to gain skills and grow stronger. Yeah, it looks great. I mean, it looks very cute. There's this cute scene where the dog eats a burger and then there's a little heart above his head as he finishes the food. So yeah, definitely wishlist this one. This looks super cute. It's supposed to be coming next year in 2026. And again, there is an open alpha demo, but no confirmed release date beyond 2026. And again, most of these seem to just be coming to PC for right now. The Frosty Games Fest was very clear about games that were also coming to other platforms. Whereas Wholesome Direct didn't really mention the Nintendo Switch or other platforms very much, Frosty Games Fest did have the Nintendo Switch logo flash on screen a few times for some of the games. And as we're going to talk about, Miska Tiny Tail later is coming to Nintendo Switch. So I think most of these games are coming to PC for now anyway. Next up, we have, and I'm not going to pronounce this correctly, but Draculesti. And this is a visual novel. A job gone wrong traps lawyer R.M. Renfield at Castle Dracula. Sacrifice others or your own humanity to survive, or risk it all for love in this romantic horror visual novel. But Renfield isn't the only one who's looking for a way out. Oh, and I should mention, Cyber Paradise does have the LGBTQ plus tag while I'm reading through Draculesti. But Renfield isn't the only one looking for a way out. Who, if anyone, can you trust? Can you tell it's been a long weekend for me, True Avatars, that I'm like kind of like bumbling through this a little bit? But anyway. So, I like the look of this game. It's a visual novel. It's got this like dark red, dark black gothic aesthetic. And it looks super cute. It looks like you're romancing any number of people in this castle. It has the LGBTQ plus tag. My gaydar was going off the whole time I was watching it. So even though you're playing a male character, it doesn't look like there's player sexuality. It looks like this person might be just a little pansexual. So, it comes from Fine Feathered Fiends. That's the devs, and there is no release date. It just says to be announced, but there is a demo available right now if you are interested in this. I think it looks great. It looks very charming and scary at the same time. I guess kind of think Scarlet Hollow a little bit in that same sense. So if you need something to compare it to. And that, again, the name of that game was Draculesti. But the A has a kind of accent and the S has a kind of accent underneath. I don't know the name of all these accents, so you'll have to forgive me. But if you type in Draculesti, you'll find it. And also there's a link down to all these games in the show notes, so you can find these pretty easily. So don't worry too much about that. If you're looking for any of these games to wishlist or check out further, I do recommend you do that because these are all indie games. They need your attention. They need your support. And they definitely benefit from it. So this is the last game before Miska Tiny Tail. That's brand new to me. So this game is called Parasensor, and there was no LGBTQ plus tag. There's nothing really queer about the game itself. However, there are multiple queer people on the dev team. So then the dev team is called Ghoulish. The summary is as follows. When Marisol starts a new life as a telecom technician, she finds herself out of her depth in a mutating city. And let me tell you, just aside here, the mutations are very creepy. There's like people turning into like gooey bug things. She's wandering through buildings with like isopods and stuff. Anyway, connect with strangers, confront grotesque creatures, and unravel a conspiracy at the heart of a metamorphosis. And the game does take place in 2006. Yeah, it's like this 3D world. You're walking around, you're investigating stuff. It's all about exploration. The tags do say choices matter, so that's cool. The protagonist is a woman, which is great. And there is no demo for this yet, but I'm very curious what the tagline for this game seems to be. The city changes people, and I'm very curious. Like, is your character going to be changing as you wander through this world? You know, she's brand new to the city, but everyone else there seems to be changing and affected by some sort of mutation, right? So I kind of love games that do that kind of body horror element where you're just kind of like, your body is like changing without your consent, like that. So I'm very curious about this one. I'm so excited to know more, but again, this doesn't have any release date. It just says to be announced. So, and no demo. So I'll have to wait a little bit longer. And that game was called Parasensor. It comes from Ghoulish. And then finally, we have Misk, A Tiny Tale. And so the trailer mentions, I've seen a lot of Misk, A Tiny Tale trailers. I think they all look great. They show the collectathon element. They show the exploration element. They show the beautiful world. They show the cute characters. This trailer mentioned, discovering the other robot stories because there's a world full of tiny robots. And so I did get a message from the devs after last week's episode when we spoke so highly on that episode about Misk, A Tiny Tale that I got a nice message from the devs. And the devs had this to say. And I've been given permission to share this information. We've actually had some extra time recently to add something new to the game that'll add even more queer stories and moments I think people will really enjoy, in the form of unlockable letters from robots you meet on your adventure. It was really fun to work on new robots and stories again, and kind of build and expand the little world we've created. I've tried to write each one from either a personal moment in our lives or stories from people who are underrepresented. End quote. So this is great news. I like to hear that the game is going to have some queer content, because up until now, and I think even last week I said, I'm not sure if there's any queerness in the game from the characters, but there is. And this is really great, because as if I needed more reasons to play Misk, A Tiny Tale, now I have more. So Misk, A Tiny Tale is actually, like I said, it's going to come to Nintendo Switch and it's going to come to PC, and it's coming on July 22nd. So go wishlist it. You can wishlist it on Nintendo Switch now. You can wishlist it on Steam. I played it on Steam Deck years ago, and it ran beautifully. And this was back in 2022, literally, I think the June Steam Next Fest, in 2022. So it's been 3 years since I played it. And at the time it ran nicely on Steam Deck. And this seems like the perfect game to have handheld. It looks like a late 90s, early 2000s kind of platformer that bridge from N64 platformers to GameCube platformers. So I'm really, really excited about this one. And even more now that I know that there's some queer content in it too, from queer devs. So that was Frosty Games Fest, and before that we covered the Accessibility Summer Showcase. Now we can jump straight into Xbox. And so I'm going to cover Xbox really quickly because this podcast has been running for a little while now. But this Xbox Showcase did cover Outer Wilds 2, or Outer Worlds 2, I should say, not Outer Wilds 2. Don't get too excited there. There's no sequel to Outer Wilds. Outer Worlds 2. And I didn't realize this, but Outer Worlds 1 actually has queer NPCs and stories in it. So Outer Worlds 2 might also have some queerness in it. It's not really a game that's my cup of tea, but knowing that there's queer content in it, I might be checking out the sequel this fall to see if there's queer content in it. But there is a whole, I want to say half hour to hour long extra little bit of direct from the Xbox Showcase afterwards that has it's just focused entirely on Outer Worlds 2. So go check that out if you're interested. And last week I predicted that Silksong would be shadow dropped, and I was wrong. I was really, really wrong. However, we got kind of a release date. They said later this year when they showed off the game running on Xbox's new handheld, which is basically an Xbox branded version of the ROG Ally. So they said the ROG Ally was launching later this year, and Silksong will be available on it later this year. And that's all they said. I have to imagine Nintendo is going to reveal the release date for this game in the next few weeks. I do think there's still a Nintendo Direct coming, even if leakers are saying there isn't. There's a lot of Nintendo stuff they still have to announce, so I think we're going to hear more soon. But speaking of Nintendo, there was a fake out when they revealed a new Super Meat Boy game. We saw the warp pipe come out of the ground, and then the camera tilted up to show Super Meat Boy falling out of a portal. And they are it's a 3D, it's basically Mario 3D World, but Super Meat Boy. So it's called Super Meat Boy 3D. It's coming early 2026 to every platform except Nintendo. And then they revealed more information about Ninja Gaiden 4 with an October 21st release date. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is getting some DLC on September 4th. I'm excited for that. I also hope that means they're going to do an extra physical release with the game entirely on a disc. That'd be great. Or 2 discs if it has to be. I hope they do some kind of like special edition because I would like to have a physical copy of that game on my shelf. But yeah, I look forward to that. That comes September 4th. And then we've known for a little while that Game Freak is making like a third-party game for Private Division. And they revealed that game today. And it's called Beast of Reincarnation. And I just about shit my pants when I saw the Game Freak logo in the middle of an Xbox showcase. I was like, what? Because first off, it looked too beautiful for anything I've ever seen Game Freak make. First off, that doesn't mean Game Freak doesn't make beautiful games. Even Pokemon games, most of them look very nice, okay? They look very pretty. They're just not usually up to par with games of this generation. And when they're not up to par, but they still look good, they're usually stylized for a reason. So there was this Studio Ghibli-esque, like Princess Mononoke looking game that they revealed. And then Game Freak's logo came on, and I swear it looked like they were making a Princess Mononoke game. Now it's not, there's like very obvious differences, but the fact that Game Freak is able to churn out a game with amazing visuals like this, you have to go check them out. They're gorgeous. It makes me wonder, why is Pokemon being held back so intensely? Anyway, that game is called Beast of Reincarnation. It's coming 2026 from Game Freak. I will be there day one because I am morbidly curious about a Game Freak game that looks amazing, that's completely different from Pokemon, that looks like it could actually be successful because their last few non-Pokemon games haven't done super well. So, anyway, next up they showed Grounded 2, and again, I'm not covering all the games in this showcase, but I'm just going to cover the ones that I think are relevant. They showed Grounded 2, so the miniaturized, like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids inspired multiplayer game. There's a second one coming out. I think it's like an early access kind of thing, or a preview event happening mid-July, or maybe end of July. But either way, I think the last one came out exactly 3 years ago, so... Anyway, Don't Nod is making a space game called Athelion. I think they're working with the European Space Agency on this too, which I think is cool. It's a cool collaboration, but I wasn't particularly too into the trailer. I didn't notice anything super queer about it. I checked the tags. There's nothing LGBTQ plus related in it. It's possible there is some queerness to it, but Don't Nod is usually very clear when they're making a queer game, so... Even if they don't say it's queer, it's like when I saw Lost Records Bloom and Rage right away, even though I didn't know for sure if it was queer, I was like, I don't know, the bisexual lighting in this game kind of screams to me like, yeah, it's queer. So anyway, that game is called Athelion. It's kind of like a platformer exploration kind of game. And then the most exciting reveal for me in the entire showcase for Xbox is they're making Planet of Lana 2. And if you haven't played Planet of Lana yet, it's a hand-painted version of Inside that looks like thematically and visually kind of reminds me of like Horizon, like Forbidden West. Like you're in this world of robots that are trying to kill you, and the whole mechanic around it is that you're this young girl walking around with this alien cat, and you and the alien cat have to kind of direct the cat to go help you overcome obstacles and climb around the world. So when this game came out, I played it right away. It was so gorgeous. It was so good, but it was so short. I think it was about as long as Inside, but by the time the game was really going, it was over, and I was a little disappointed because it was so good. Well, they're making a sequel, and the sequel looks like it's upping the game in a lot of ways, and it looks just as visually gorgeous as the last game. It's called Planet of Lana 2, Children of the Leaf. It's coming 2026 to every platform. I think they mentioned Switch, but not Switch 2. I hope that changes. I hope there's a Switch 2 version down the road. Lloyd Lloydster called it last week when he said there'd be AI slop, because we actually did figure out that there is some AI slop here. He's not on the podcast today in this segment, but we were talking on Discord, and I pointed out this trailer called Animo, which looks like this Pokemon ripoff that was shown off in the Xbox trailer. It's supposed to be a mobile gacha game, but they played it off as if it's like a big AAA, big budget, single player game where you kind of like turn into the Pokemon. But the Pokemon, like, there's a Cubone ripoff, there was an Oshawott ripoff, there was a whole bunch of Pokemon ripoffs in this thing, but the human character that you run around as transforms into the character. And at first I was like, this is conceptually very interesting to me. I was like, this is super cool. Because then you have to navigate the world as the creature you pick, making exploration more interesting. But the whole time I'm watching it, I was like, this looks like AI-generated slop. It looks like AI assets. In fact, the whole trailer looks like it could have just been AI. And there were a lot of people online saying that it looked like another game called Doke V. And even the music was similar to this other game called DokeV, which I honestly I've never heard of. And I looked up DokeV and I was like, there's also something really off about that game too. I mean, if you want to look it up, go for it. But anyway. But Lloyd Lloydster had this to say. I think I figured something out. It struck me as odd that trailer didn't link to any official game, sources, wishlist, developer pages, anything. And I noticed that too, but I didn't think too much of it. I thought maybe, they were still getting the Steam page set up or whatever. But Lloyd said, I did more digging, and apparently Amino is a known AI platform that's targeted for easy-to-make / high-quality video marketing. You just have to feed it text and visuals. So Animo, and DokeV both being in the video name threw me off for a while. But my best guess at this point is everything in that video is AI, using DokeV as a source. It's strange that the graphic at the end of the trailer spells it Animo with 2 eyes, but the title says Animo with 1 eye. It's like it's using DokeV for search engine optimization. It actually has DokeV selected as the category on YouTube. I legitimately can't find any media or games out there that match up with the actual content of that video. Sea-themed or fluffy cute as fuck little otters. Or sheep. So that's what he had to say, and honestly, everything he's saying was kind of at the back of my mind, and I'm glad he did a little bit more digging because I didn't have a ton of time to, but yeah, we predicted there'd be more AI slop, and, Lloyd was right. He predicted it. He was right. And then finally, the next 3 games I'm going to talk about here are very quick, but Persona 4 is getting a remake. It's called Persona 4 Revival. It's coming to every platform but Nintendo, of course. Why would it come to Nintendo? It's only the most popular place for JRPGs. There's no release date, no release window. I think they only showed like a little bit of gameplay. It was a very short trailer. So, but yeah, it's Persona 4 Remake. It's called Persona 4 Revival, and it's coming at some point. And Final Fantasy VII R Remake is coming to Xbox this winter. No word on Rebirth. Final Fantasy 16 is out today. And then finally they ended the showcase off with Call of Duty Black Ops 7. And they did not confirm whether it's coming to Nintendo. And if it's not, I sense a lawsuit in Xbox's future because they promised all Call of Duty games would be coming to Nintendo. And if Nintendo's next presentation doesn't have a big Xbox, here's everything coming to Xbox is also coming to Switch. Or rather Switch 2. I'll be very disappointed because they're making all this effort to come to PS5, but I think a lot of these games are going to sell just as well on Switch if they can get them running there. And they promised that Call of Duty was coming to, not that I want to play it on Switch too, for that, honest, I don't like Call of Duty games, but, I know that Call of Duty sells really well, so Call of Duty on a dedicated handheld will be very popular, which means the Switch 2 will sell, which means the Switch 2 is going to get more support from other third parties, which means more games like Persona 4 Revival may be coming. So, anyway. My voice is done. It's been a long weekend. That is everything for this weekend. Like I said, I'll be back next week with Amy Lynn. We're going to talk about the Switch 2 launch, and I'm also going to talk about the Women-Led Games Showcase. And also, later this week too, I'll be back to do a bonus episode before that episode I mentioned with Amy Lynn, and we're going to be talking about Steam Next Fest games. I'm sure there's going to be lots of games with the LGBTQ plus tag. We're not going to have time to cover them all because we're going to be playing demos and talking about them a little bit more in depth. So we're probably going to pick between, I want to say 5 and 10 demos to talk about because it will be a shorter episode as well. Yeah, and this, at the time of, release, this Steam Next Fest should be starting in a few hours, but most people will probably be listening to this after Steam Next Fest has started. It runs from Monday the 9th to Monday the 16th. From whatever time the sales start in your region to the end of whatever time sales end. So for Canadians in Eastern Time Zone, it's 1 p.m. to 1 p.m. on the 9th to the 16th. So just keep in mind, there's a specific hour where most of these demos get taken down. So if you're interested in any LGBTQ plus demos, I recommend playing them this week when you have the chance, or checking out our podcast bonus episode where we'll be talking about more. Anyway, I am done rambling. I've been rambling a lot this weekend. Thank you so much for listening. If you made it through this entire episode, I want to thank you so much for listening. And leave a review, comment, hit me up on social media. Let me know what you think. Tell me what your favorite games are that were revealed. All these queer games. So many queer games. I can't keep track of them all. Let me know what your favorite games are that were revealed this weekend, whether they're queer or not. Thanks to your avatars for joining me for another episode of your Queer Video Game Podcast. If you've made it this far into the episode, I really appreciate you taking the time to support queer-made content. If you want to support the show, it would be really great if you could leave a rating, review, or comment on your preferred podcast platform. I welcome you to check out the website trueavatarspodcast.com, all one word. That's trueavatarspodcast.com. You can also find the show on Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube under the handle @trueavatars, all one word, and on Instagram under trueavatars. Importantly, if you or anyone you know is queer and involved with video games in some way, please don't be shy. I would love to hear from more queer voices in video games. Your voice is unique and valid and worth sharing with the world. And if you don't want to be on the show or know anyone who's interested, but you know about a cool queer video game or a games industry story that's queer related, please let me know. The show's official email is trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. That's trueavatars.podcast@gmail.com. You can also feel free to reach out via the website or the aforementioned social media pages. Things are tough out there, and queer people need to stick together when we can. Bye, True Avatars. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to speaking with you all again next week. Take care and stay safe.